Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Grace Lauren Taylor, and you are listening to episode 36 of the Trauma Dump Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Here at the Trauma Dump Podcast, we seek to answer the question, what is mental health? How do I take care of my own? And how do I support others? This week, we will be discussing the topic of recovering from Stockholm Syndrome with our very special guest of the week, Abby. Be sure to go check Abby out over on TikTok. Her TikTok is eclectic x hippie. I'll put it right here up on the screen. She has amazing inspirational content about recovering from trauma, abuse, and Stockholm Syndrome. So go check her out. Hey, if you'd like to share on the show, please message us in our Discord in the podcast participants channel, and we will match you to the right episode. And just a quick disclaimer before we start, I am not a licensed health professional. This podcast only seeks to create community and further understanding of these topics that are so often overlooked and extremely misunderstood. If you or a loved one are in need of medical professional help, we have resources in our description. The topics discussed here are for a mature audience, so viewer discretion is always advised. And if you like this episode, please hit that like button and please subscribe to our channel if you want to get more amazing content and become trauma informed. Now, let's get into this episode. So what is Stockholm Syndrome, right? What is Stockholm Syndrome? The condition gets its name from the 1973 bank robbery incident that happened in Stockholm, Sweden. During a 6-day standoff with the police, many of the captive bank employees became sympathetic towards the bank robbers. After they were set free, some bank employees refused to testify against the bank robbers in court and even raised money for their defense. A criminologist and psychiatrist investigating the event developed the term Stockholm Syndrome to describe the affinity some bank employees showed towards the bank robbers. Stockholm Syndrome isn't a psychological diagnosis. Instead, it's a way of understanding the emotional response some people have towards a captor or an abuser. As it happens, some abuse and hostage victims have positive feelings towards their abusers or captors. Sometimes, when people are held prisoner or are subject to abuse, they have feelings of sympathy or other positive feelings towards their captor. This seems to happen over days, weeks, months, or years of captivity within close contact to their captor. A bond can grow between the victim and the captor, and this leads to kind treatment and less harm from the abuser, as they might also create a positive bond within their victim. Someone who has Stockholm Syndrome might have confusing feelings towards their abuser, including love, sympathy, empathy, and a desire to protect them. Stockholm Syndrome might also cause the hostage to have negative feelings towards the police or anyone who might attempt rescue. This week, Abby shares her experiences of growing up with addicted parents, self-harming to cope, being sexually assaulted, and becoming addicted to drugs at a very young age. Also, from being kidnapped and held hostage for 3 years. So definitely viewer discretion is very much advised going forward in this episode. If you ever feel triggered during this episode, please take a break, drink a glass of water, and if you wish to continue watching, please do. All right, let's get into this interview. Hi, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I hustling and bustling, doing the best that I can. I got my macaroni.
Oh.
Yeah, I made mac and fried chicken like from scratch like a few days ago, and I made too much mac, so I'm eating the leftovers.
That's the best though. Then you don't have to cook for days.
Oh my goodness, yes. My fiance asked me, he's like, "Why do you make so much food all at once?" It's like, I don't know, this is how I was raised. I have a billion cousins and I have multiple
Yeah.
siblings. Like, I always do the cooking and cleaning for like a huge family, and now it's just you and me, and I don't know how to like scale it down.
Yeah.
Ugh.
They just got boxes and boxes in your fridge.
Exactly. And for Christmas one
Yeah.
year, he bought me like the Tupperware that has like the lids for it. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is the
This is
best
the best
gift
thing ever.
ever.
Yeah.
I was so excited. But yeah. Oh my goodness. So today we're talking about recovering from Stockholm Syndrome. It's very nice to meet you, Abby. Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, my name is Abby. I am from Ontario, Canada. And my pronouns are she, her.
Awesome. Well, it's really nice to meet you, Abby. I found you from TikTok. Your TikTok is eclectic ex hippie.
Yes,
It's, dude, your videos are really inspiring. Honestly, you've been through so much. Oh my God. It's intense. And so we're going to
it is.
get into that in this episode, but before we start, I just have to, give that disclosure, get your consent. Are you comfortable with discussing your personal experiences?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so should make sure that I'm not crossing any of your boundaries and respecting your experiences. Please feel free to interrupt me at any time if you feel uncomfortable or triggered. We can also take a break at any time if you need to. And if you don't feel like answering a question, just let me know. Tell me to skip it. I promise I won't get offended because my priority is to make sure you feel safe at all times. So, my first question would be um, we've discussed prior to this episode of like, hey, what kind of topic do you want to discuss? And you're like, oh, kidnapping and Stockholm syndrome. And I'm really intrigued by that. How did you develop Stockholm syndrome?
I developed Stockholm Syndrome after I left my abuser of 3 years. I didn't realize that I had already had it when I was in his basement. I didn't realize until he went to jail. Um, and all of a sudden, I started getting all of these feelings of guilt. I was suffocated with all of these emotions that I didn't know that I had for him. I was scared for him. I was sad for him. I felt so guilty for putting him in jail. Um, and I didn't know why I felt like this until I started doing research and seeing a therapist, and she explained to me what Stockholm syndrome was. And she had pointed out that I had created this bond with my abuser. And I actually, at one point, contacted the police station and asked them to release him because I was so lost and I was so confused and I didn't know how to live without him. Um, Thankfully, they didn't listen to me, and they reassured me that this is actually a really common thing that victims go through after their abuser is out of their life. So it took me a long time to learn how to live with that and to heal from that.
I mean, yeah, of course it would take you a long time. You said you were captive for 3 years. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, just about 3 years.
Oh my goodness. That's terrifying. I'm very glad that you're still here, that you're alive. My goodness. Oh my goodness. So, for those of you guys listening, if you don't know what Stockholm Syndrome is, it's really important to note that Stockholm Syndrome is a very complex and often misunderstood phenomenon. Stockholm Syndrome is not defined as a mental health condition by the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Instead, the American Psychiatric Association considers it a mental and emotional response. So, Stockholm Syndrome is typically considered a psychological defense or coping mechanism experienced by some during extreme trauma, like kidnapping, domestic abuse, and human sex trafficking. Most people commonly refer to Stockholm Syndrome nowadays as trauma bonded or having a trauma bond. So, you said earlier that you were trauma bonded with your abuser. How did you develop that trauma bond?
Um, Slowly. It was very slowly. At first, um, he lured me into his house by saying that he would take care of me, that I didn't have anybody else who cared for me the way that he would care for me, and I believed him because of my many issues with my childhood and my parents, and I was homeless at the time. I was really needing somebody to take care of me, and I was so young. So at first he did exactly that. He would feed me and he would give me everything that I wanted. But at the same time, he was feeding me excessive amounts of drugs, that I didn't realize were completely altering everything about me. Um, I was going into full-blown psychosis for weeks at a time. I didn't even know who I was anymore. Um, and the trauma bond started because I felt like a sense of safety with him at the beginning. And I felt very like he did maybe actually care about me. Um, and I think to this day still that some part of him did, in his own sick and twisted way. He did care about me, but not in the way that anybody needs to be cared about. So I realized, um, about halfway through that he was just using me for his own pleasure. So he was abusing me, and I was feeling bad for him. I was feeling guilty for him. I was feeling sad for him. And I was feeling these feelings, these really confused feelings. I didn't know if it was love or fear, or both. I was just so confused about this person who is saying that he loves me and he is here to take care of me and protect me, but is at the same time destroying me and abusing me every single day. And it was very confusing for me.
I mean, of course it would be confusing for you. It'd be confusing for anyone in the complex situation that you were in because you said you were homeless. How old were you at the time?
I would have just turned 15.
So you were a child, a
Yes.
homeless child, and someone took advantage of you. Do you mind me asking how old he was?
He was, I believe, 42 or 43.
Yeah. So that man really took advantage of your situation, made you reliant upon him, and then used and abused you.
Yeah. Yeah, he actually has 4 kids, and 2 of them were older than me,
Wow.
or are older than me. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Mhm.
It's absolutely revolting. And he put you in this incredibly unsafe situation. But from your perspective at the time, did it feel like this was better than being homeless?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I didn't have to be alone. Even if I was being traumatized every single day, I just wasn't alone, and I wasn't cold, and I wasn't out on the street, and I at least had somewhere to sleep and some sort of food, um, and drugs, because he had me so addicted. I was only just experimenting with drugs when he found me. I wasn't in my full-blown addiction yet. He was the one that fed that into me. He had it at all times accessible 24/7. He was always constantly feeding it to me. I'd come down and get sober, and he would immediately get me high again. Um so I couldn't leave. I was so addicted. I couldn't go anywhere, and he made sure of that.
My God. So you said earlier that you felt sympathy for your abuser, um,
Mhm.
even after he was caught. How did
Mhm.
you get through those complex feelings?
Um, I continued using for a bit. Wasn't long actually. I only used for uh just over 2 months before I got completely clean. Um, but that was one of the main things that I did. I just kept myself high, to try and figure out how to be a teenager and how to live without this man. And then when I got clean and could feel all of my feelings again, I started going to like intensive therapy. Um, and I went to a grief therapist for the loss of my mom, and a different therapist, a forecast therapist for my addiction, and another therapist for what I went through with him. I was in like consistent therapy. And I did end up in and out of the hospital a couple times, questioning my life, whether I wanted to be here or not, or how to be alive. But like very quickly, I found a friend group. Like I found people that I could be around that didn't make me feel so alone, which was really what I needed at the time. So surrounded myself with people 24/7. And as much as that's not overly healthy, it made me feel safe, and it's what I needed at the time. So I was constantly with people, so I didn't have to feel that alone. And then I also at the same time got to experience these like fun teenage things. I got to go to parties. I got to go grocery shopping and regular shopping with my friends. Like I got to do all of these things that I dreamed about when I was in his basement. I just like those were the things that kept me going. I just wanted so badly to just be a kid. And I got to do that. I got to do some of those things after, which very quickly turned into like something really happy for me. It's something that I wanted and I wanted to keep, and I didn't want to go back. So then I started I started healing and going that way instead of living in the past and wanting him to be out of jail.
That's beautiful. According to my research, it says that many different people suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, and they claim to have some form of Stockholm Syndrome within their post-traumatic stress disorder. And since Stockholm Syndrome isn't directly a diagnosis yet, new diagnoses come up as
Yeah.
we gain more knowledge of mental health. But a lot of people feel sympathy for their abusers, especially those that have been kidnapped. A kidnapped person often feels threatened by their captor, but they're also highly reliant upon them for their survival. You know, they need them to survive, basically. And so they develop these feelings of sympathy, empathy, or even love towards their captor, as well as a desire to protect them. And I mean, you were so young. Like I think of little 15-year-old Grace. I was so naive. I was so
Mhm.
young. I was so hopeful.
Mhm.
And I don't I'm so amazed how you survived that. Like how did you escape?
I I stopped taking the drugs that he was giving me without him noticing. I would just like tuck them away and hide them. It was quite easy, surprisingly, even though he was so hyper aware of everything. He was just so high, and he didn't think that I could possibly not want to be high because of how addicted I was. Um, I started talking about getting sober with him. I started like asking him to get clean with me and everything, and he had this like he talked about marrying me. Like he talked about future with me. It was very confusing. So I really fed into that. I was like explaining that we could get clean together. He didn't want to, so he never did. So I had to go my own way, and I thought that maybe if I could get myself away from the drugs, um, that I could think clearly. I could think of a way that I could possibly get out of this situation, because I was so stuck into it that there was no way that I was getting out high. So I spent a couple weeks just not using, and I felt so free and clear. Like I felt so connected to like my surroundings, the universe, everything. I just felt like this like draw to be out there. I needed to be outside. I needed to be away from him. And I it was getting close to Father's Day. So I just kept bringing up Father's Day, and I kept saying that I need to go see my dad, that my dad would be worried about me, that he is going to be contacting the police and that they're looking for me, and if I don't go see him soon, then they're going to come looking for me. um and he was so paranoid all the time. He was always looking for cops, always looking for everything because of what he was doing to me, but just also the paranoia from the drugs. And it worked. Eventually I'd convinced him that I needed to go see my dad. So there's this bridge, in my hometown, and it's like this big black bridge, and across the bridge is no frills, and on the other side of the bridge is like this little island, which is where he lived. Um, and he said that he'll watch me from the bridge, and I'll go into this parking lot to go meet my dad. So I did. So he said he was going to watch me, and if I did anything or tried to run, that he was going to kill my whole family. And he made sure to like tell me where each and every single one of my family members lived, and he knew. I don't know how he knew, but he did. Um, so I was really scared. It was like I had to make this decision. Was he actually gonna do it? Was he actually going to, or is he bluffing, or is he just trying to feed into my fear, which is what he did for the previous years, and that's why I never left. Um, so I just made this decision. I said that this is my out. I don't know if I'm gonna have another chance like this. So I got in my dad's car and I looked at him, and he had so many things to say to me, but the only thing I said was, "You need to drive right now, like as fast as you can, and get me to the police station. And we need to get in there, like immediately." And he did without questioning it. He drove me right there. Um, and I went into the police station and I said to them, I said, "I have been like held captive in this man's basement on and off for the past 3 years, all over the place. He brought me to different houses and everything. And I was like, I need you to have him arrested, like right now, before I give you all of the information, because I'm scared. I'm scared for my family. I'm scared for my life. I'm scared that if he is out there right now for too long, well, he knows that I took off, that something bad's going to happen." And they sat me down. I gave them some of the information, and they went and they got him uh in like within half an hour. And he was in the police station, and then I could give my full statement, and I he was it was done, and I felt like everything was going to be okay finally.
Yeah, I'm in awe of you. Truly, truly. You have done the unthinkable, the unimaginable, and you succeeded. Do you feel proud of yourself?
I'm proud of young me. I'm proud that I had enough strength and that I could do it, so that I could be here today and be alive and have a life and a family. I'm really
Yeah.
happy to have that strength.
You add a lot of strength and abundance and overflowing of strength. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you did it. You escaped because most women don't.
No,
Most women
no,
don't escape. And you did it.
Mhm.
It's oh, it's incredible. And he's still in jail?
He's not actually. He is roaming free in my hometown.
Wow. Why?
He served 2 years, which is less than I did. Uh, it's disgusting. They told me that there was a chance that he would get 10 years. He was sentenced to, I believe, 3, and then got off on good behavior
Hmm.
for 2 years. I don't know how he could possibly show good behavior after that, but I guess he did. Um, and yeah, he is free to do whatever he wants. And I've heard, uh, not 100%, but I have heard multiple people talk about how he is still doing this to other girls.
Wow.
He has been seen with young girls again. I haven't seen him, so I don't know the truth to that, but it makes me absolutely sick that the system doesn't keep people like that.
My God. I wonder if it would be considered doxing if you told me who he was and I just started spamming the Canadian police.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think about it all the time. It makes me sick.
Yeah, that makes me incredibly sick as well. I really hope and pray that this doesn't happen again, but if he's out there, legitimately, what is preventing him from doing it again?
Yeah,
Ugh,
nothing.
so nothing, absolutely nothing. That's so ridiculous, so evil, so vile. That's crazy. Oh, that's insane. My brain can't process how utterly ridiculous. Oh my God. Dude. I've heard a lot about the Canadian justice system, especially when it comes to kidnapping and sex trafficking and women just going missing, especially women of color and Native women just going missing and no one gives a shit. And it makes me so incredibly disgusted. And I keep thinking to myself, like, what can we do about it? Like, genuinely, what can we do about it? Because I don't live in Canada. I'm in America. I'm in Texas. I'm pretty damn far away.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing that we can do is just to spread awareness of it, that it's happening, and leave it up to the people in power to do something about it. And that's why I really do appreciate how you're using your platform to talk about your experiences.
I get tons of comments all the time about people saying that I'm lying or that this stuff doesn't happen. This is only in movies. And that's exactly why I'm posting about it. It does not just happen in movies. This can be happening all around you in your hometown, right beside you, your neighbor, anybody. People just have to be more aware that it's so normal, unfortunately, for this kind of thing to happen all
Yeah.
around you. And if people aren't aware that it's not just something you can see in movies, then hopefully people will contact the police more when they see concerning things. They will help more with if they know that it's actually a real thing that can happen to anybody that you know.
Yeah. And I know, like, I've had so many people call me a Karen, but I call the police
Oh
very
yeah.
often, like
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
over things that I think is crazy. Um, this past weekend, I just opened my business account for this podcast to try and get it off the ground, because this is my business.
That's awesome.
And thank you. And there were some homeless women on the side of the road by the bank. And I stopped my car and gave them some water bottles because that's usually what I do. Whenever there's women, I stop and I give them water bottles. And they're like, "Hey, do you have any money?" And I said, "No, my love, I don't have any money, but would you like a necklace? Because I make handmade crystal beaded jewelry."
Oh, that's
And I
amazing.
gave them each a necklace, and I was talking to them for a while, and they're like, "Yeah, my pimp just stole my phone and I don't have anything to do, anywhere to go. He has my phone and my ID, so I can't go get a job, and I so desperately want to work at Applebee's again." And I'm like, "Okay, do you need me to call the police?" And she's like, "I'm afraid of the police." I'm like, I understand you feeling that, but do you need me to call the police?" And she was like, she was really contemplating it. And I said, "Ma'am, what are they going to do to you? You haven't committed a crime. If someone has committed a crime against you, let me call the police. If you would rather me not be here when the police arrive, just let me know. If you want me to be here when the police arrive, just let me know." She was like, "I would rather you not be here." And I was like, "Okay. Do you want me to call the police?" She's like, "Okay." So I did. I waited in my car. Police troopers showed up almost immediately, and they talked with her and she got into the back of the vehicle. So I'm hoping that whatever happened gets resolved, because
That's do
around
really.
where I live, there's a lot of homeless people,
Me
like a
too.
lot.
Mhm.
Actually, last night, my fiance just stopped a car from getting broken into, and they tried to hit him, like the car that they were using to try and break into other cars and steal other cars. They tried to hit him. So that's lovely. But
Yeah.
there's like always disenfranchised people around where we live in Dallas, in South Dallas. And it is very worrisome. And my fiance has told me, he's like, "I'm okay with you giving stuff to women. Please never give something to a man. I don't want them to ever steal your car or anything like that, or to get into your car." And so I have to be very careful because I try to do what I can for what I can do,
Yeah.
but there's not really much that I can do. And it makes me so sick, like genuinely so sick, because no one wants to be homeless.
No.
No one has the desire to be homeless. For like those listening that think, oh, those homeless people are just begging just to be homeless. No one wants to be homeless. No one wants to be addicted to substances. No one wants to be disenfranchised. It's this corrupt system that we have in place all over the world. It's so morally bankrupt, so corrupt. And democracy doesn't exist. I really don't think it exists. And it makes me so upset because they're leaving it up to the people to provide these social welfare programs when it should be the government providing them, especially in Texas. Like they're leaving it to churches to do that. And then there's so much corruption within the churches where it's just like I could go on a tangent forever about like Texas and how ridiculous it is. And then when I go outside of myself and like look at everywhere else, it's just corruption is everywhere. It's everywhere. And within that, it makes me so frustrated because now more than ever, we need to be aware of mental health and how it affects us and how it affects the world in general. And I think once we start to understand each other and show compassion for one another, I feel like that's when significant change will occur because they tried in the 60s, right? They tried.
Yeah. Yep.
They
But
definitely
now we
did
have
try.
social media. So just like we can reach the whole world now, which is what they tried to do, but didn't have all of the resources.
No. And now more than ever, we have so many resources. It just takes that push of, come on, go into action, do it. And I'm trying, bro. That's what this podcast is all about, is spreading awareness of trauma and recovery, showing love to one another, how to support one another when we're going through these things. Because oftentimes people talk about their trauma with one another and they're like, oh, you're trauma dumping on me. Okay, well, let's take trauma dumping and let's actually do something with it. If someone is telling you something that's going on with them, they need help.
Yep. They're feeling like they're in a safe enough position to open up about these things. You should be listening.
Exactly. Listen, acknowledge what they're going through. And if you are not capable of providing support, let them know at least that you hear them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I get so many questions like all the time, especially on the Discord server. It's like, what am I supposed to do when someone's crying? Or what am I supposed to do if someone's telling me all this stuff? I don't know what to do with that information. Let them know you hear them.
You see them.
Yeah. Let them know that it's real. Because oftentimes when you're in so much trauma, it takes that someone else realizing what you're going through, acknowledging your pain. Sometimes that can be all that you need to do something about your situation. That someone else acknowledges that, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. What, even if someone says, hey, what can I do to help? And if you don't even know what they can do to help, just being there, acknowledging, hey, what you're going through, oh my God, it makes the world of difference.
Yes, it does.
I desperately need people to stop dismissing what other people are going through. Like some of the comments that you've received of saying, oh, that only happens in movies, or oh, that's not real.
Yeah.
Who do you think the movies are based off of?
Yeah, no, exactly. I have other commenters comment that back for me almost, which is great, but I go through my comment section regularly and it's just blows my mind. And it's also sickeningly that all of men who don't believe me. I don't think I've had a single female commenter question what I'm saying or put me down in any way or make some sick, twisted joke about it, because I get men in my comments all the time. I had a comment earlier this week. Some guy commented that I must have enjoyed it because I didn't get out earlier. Yeah. I was like, what's going on in your brain that you think that is an okay thing to comment, or even like an okay thing to think about? Like, it's just like, there's no harm in believing somebody. What's it going to do to you to trust that this person is reaching out and like telling the truth? Like, it serves me no purpose to lie. Um, and it's just like, I have so much support from females. It is a beautiful little community that I have created. Well, not myself, that it is like TikTok has helped me create with my platform. And it's just disgusting when I get to read all of these guys just like using it as like a joke, or like as in their personal gain, or like these twisted comments. It's just, I don't understand. And it just like, it further proves my point. Like, most of the time they don't even realize that they're further proving like my posts about men. Like, they're adding to it, and I'm like, you are like, your comment is not doing what you think it's doing. And
Yeah.
they're just completely outing themselves, which honestly is a really good thing. I had this guy go on a tangent on one of my posts like a couple days ago, and I had multiple girls message me saying that he is actually a pedophile. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And he is full on outing himself. He is letting the world know right now. Everybody who sees this comment knows like that you are a pedophile and you are a disgusting human. So like, I am glad that they're outing themselves and showing the world who they are, so that hopefully they don't have interactions with like other people who they can do horrible things to, right? It's disgusting.
It is disgusting. It's so disgusting. And I've read in many different places when I was doing research for this episode that a lot of people correlate Stockholm Syndrome and narcissistic abuse more and more frequently. According to psychotherapist Christine Louis de Canaville, I hope I'm saying that right, Canaville, Stockholm Syndrome is the emotional trauma bonding of the victim and their narcissistic abuser in order to survive their ordeal of living like a hostage under threat. Under these conditions, both cognitive dissonance, which is a discomfort caused by holding conflicting ideas simultaneously, and Stockholm Syndrome, the return to childish or infantile patterns, develop on an involuntary basis. In Stockholm Syndrome, what occurs in the victim is the same principle that has been in the developing infant. Both the infant and the victim is the same principle that has been seen together. They need something in order to survive. They need someone to provide for them. And so they develop an emotional attachment to the caregiver, quote, quote, that displays power and compassion. And so a child turns to a caregiver for bonding. And so within that, when a normal parent dynamic, they get a mixture of discipline and love. While within this twisted relationship, the victim turns to their narcissistic abuser through trauma bonding, where they experience the power imbalance and the intermittent good and bad treatment. It is psychological infantilism in the victim that becomes responsible for creating an inner drive in the victim to cling to their abuser and resent police or other family from rescue attempts. The psychologist continues that this results in the victim seeing from the perspective of the abuser, putting the abuser first, and settling for small kindnesses, and then losing their sense of self. This surrendering of the self to the abuser results in the victim being totally dependent upon the abuser. And this abuser takes on the role of a parent, while the victim is denigrated to that of a child, whether or not they are a child. And dude, my God, my God, it's it's so real. I've read so many victim impact statements when I was going through the research for this, and while I was going through those, I found this psychotherapist, Christine. She has so many different websites that I'm going to be linking in the resources for those of you that want to delve more into these patterns of abuse. But you can develop Stockholm Syndrome from not just being kidnapped, but also within your own family dynamic. And yeah, trauma bonding is so real. I experienced it. I was abused by my mother my entire life. My mother is a diagnosed narcissistic individual. She is NPD. She also has diagnosed bipolar disorder, and she abused the hell out of me my entire life. And I didn't really snap out of it until I got to college, until I got away from her. And then I started having these like full body panic attacks whenever I would be forced to come home, especially during COVID. When COVID happened and I was forced to leave college and go back home, quote, it was just the most intense fear like I have ever felt in my entire life. And that's when I start to recognize that why am I feeling this like overwhelming sense of just dread? Oh, yeah, let me put the pieces together. My mother has abused me in almost every single form of abuse, and she just continues to do it. And I know I'm just going to be continually abused. And now because of COVID, I can't fucking leave my house. I can't go anywhere. I can't see my friends. I can't be away from her. And she wouldn't even let me in the house. I lived in an RV outside the house because I wasn't good enough to live in her house. And she used like the COVID threat. She was like, oh, well, you've been around COVID, so I don't want you in my house getting me sick. And she got even my dad involved, which rest in peace, Dad. Love you. I know you're watching from heaven and you're recognizing how she utilized COVID to get you to abuse me. But she got my dad to speak on her defense of saying that, oh, you can't come in the house because we don't know how long COVID stays on a person. And I need to protect my wife because I'm the husband and that's my job to protect my wife. When I was just like, I'm secluded to a fucking RV all by myself and I can't go anywhere or do anything from March to June. When June, my dad was hit by a car in front of me and he died. Like, it was traumatic.
Yeah, yeah.
It was so overwhelmingly traumatic of not being able to do anything. And then immediately, like, once my dad was like in the hospital, incapacitated with a severe TBI, she wouldn't let us visit him because it's still during COVID. And she's like, oh, you're going to kill your dad because you're going to give your dad COVID and then you're going to kill your dad.
Yeah.
It was intense. It was insane. Like,
Imagine. That's horrible.
and I only got to see my dad like 7 times in the hospital. And then when he was dying in hospice, I was there every single day from like the beginning of October till he died November 6th, 2021. I was there every single day. And it makes me so incredibly angry looking back on it. Like
Mhm.
she really fucked me and my younger siblings over extremely, like
Mhm.
extremely, extremely. Like a week after my dad was hit by a car, he wasn't even fucking dead yet. She took all of us off of the health insurance, car insurance, phone plan, iCloud, everything, and told us to our faces, like her minor children, that she didn't want to be a parent and that she didn't want anything to do with us, and that her job was to take care of her husband, and that we were getting in the way of her job.
Oh my, wow.
And it makes me so, it's so angry, so angry. I consider myself an orphan, legitimately do. My dad is dead. My mother has disowned me countless times throughout my childhood of like the discarding phase, like, oh, the idealization phase, the like over and over and over. And it finally, I mean, everyone's like, oh, your frontal lobe doesn't develop till you're 25. I feel like mine developed at 21. I was like, suddenly, bloop. Oh, holy shit. I've been like abused my whole life. I'm
I
not going
had
to
the
allow this to
same
happen.
realization at 21 as well, which is so weird. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
hold on, this is not okay. None of this was okay. Something is wrong. I was just talking to my boyfriend about that, how everybody's saying that it develops when you're 25, and I was literally just saying that I might had to have developed at 21 because something happened. Something clicked. Everything, I could see everything very, very clearly for what it was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it might, honestly, it might develop a bit faster for those that have endured significant trauma because trauma does age you. Like physiologically, it does age you. It ages your brain and it ages like your metabolism, your body in general.
Yeah.
Intense.
Skin.
Your skin, you do
Yeah.
get wrinkles.
Yeah. My hair, I have gray hair already. I
Equal.
actually do. Yeah, it really does.
Stupid trauma. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely hoping that through healing, we can reverse those effects. And I've already felt it. Like over time, I developed pretty severe seizures because of my trauma. And I still have them, but they're a lot less frequent
That's
than
yeah,
what
that's
they
amazing.
were. And it took me time of just processing everything because the body really does hold score. If you are not actively processing what you're going through, acknowledging what you're going through, your body's going to keep reminding you over and over and over.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm so glad that you were able to do that. That's amazing.
thank you. I'm I'm really glad I was able to do it too, because like I used to be in theater, dance, everything. I was a skinny itty bitty baby. Itty bitty. And that was because I was active all the time. And when all of this went down and I was cut off from all of my friends and other social relationships, like the stress, I do not eat a lot. Like I have to like say that all the time, even to myself. I really don't eat a lot, but I gained 100 pounds within 2 years. But it's like I don't eat a lot. Um, I'm still kind of active except for the seizures, which do limit me physically. But I'm like, how? And then I went to the doctor, and the doctor is like, you have the metabolism of a 29-year-old. And I'm like, beg your pardon?
There it is.
Beg your pardon? Like,
Oh,
how? Like, I don't know. You just do. And you have severe hypothyroidism. Like,
awesome. Great.
what? How am I
Yeah.
gonna do? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
literally my reaction. I was like, oh, why?
Mhm.
Great. Thanks, mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, thanks, mom. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Never talking to you again. But no, genuinely, I will never speak to her again. I've made that vow within myself because shortly after my dad's demise, she refused to go to my dad's funeral, like refused. And then she posted all over Facebook that no one go to this funeral. And he was beloved by a lot of people. And so a lot of people didn't go. And I feel very bad for all of them. But I went. I went with my siblings. We did our best. We went with our dad's family. And yeah, shortly after he died, she started dating a 30-year-old. She's in her late 50s.
Oh no.
And she moved that 30-year-old into the house my dad built with his hands. Like he bought all that property before he even knew her, built a house. Like, yeah, she moved her new boyfriend into the house, um, stole my dad's car that my dad gave to my brother, stole it from my brother, gave it to her new boyfriend, And I just found out that they're married now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just found that out. Um, yeah. And since I blocked her on everything, right?
Yeah.
Which when she took us off of her phone plan, we had to get all new numbers, which
Yeah.
I had to figure that out for me and my siblings. I was like,
Yeah.
doing my best. I'm so sorry, little dudes. I'm so sorry. But I was like, how did you get my number?
Yeah.
I don't know, but she did, and she left this like giant paragraph. Do you want me to read it to you? Because it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious to me. Um, hold on. Let me pull up my text messages because it's not in my text message. It's in my brother's girlfriend. She like took a picture of the
Oh,
phone
yeah.
and then sent it to me. She was like, "Here you go. Here you go, bestie." I was like, "Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate you." Because she didn't like I found this all out. Apparently, my mother got married on the anniversary of my dad's funeral.
Oh my, how? Oh my.
I I
Yeah.
what? I don't know.
You couldn't even like went like one day after?
No,
Like,
I don't know. I don't know. So here's what's really funny is my brother, my mother's name is Rebecca. My brother named her in his phone Rebecca. Rebecca, like take that fat L.
yeah.
And so it's from Rebecca. And her new name is Whitehead. Come on now. Come on now. Why would you? Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
continue. She said, "My dearest children, I want to share my news with you. I would have loved to have you by my side, but since you have chosen to withdraw from relationship with me and exclude me out of your lives, I have finally chosen to move on with mine.
Oh,
Blank and I eloped and are excited about starting our life together. I'm forever grateful for the 23 years God ordained for me to be with your father and the life we had together. I may never understand why he allowed all of that to happen, but I hold on to the promises from the Bible that all of our days were written before one of them came to be, and no one can snatch it out of his hand.
oh,
Okay, bring God
oh.
into this. All right. Believing that, I have questioned him, meaning questioned God, about why that moment. And the only reason he, meaning God, has shared with me is that your dad fulfilled his purposes. What was the purposes of Mark's life, which is my dad's middle name, by the way? What was the purposes of Mark's life? Someday we may see it fully. But for now, all I can make of it is that the last thing your dad did was to make sure that you all came home so we could be a family together. My dad didn't make sure anyone came home. It was COVID. All of
Yeah.
us all of us kids had to be in the house, which let me add to that. My mother disowned my autistic sibling when they were like 12 years old and they were forced to live with our grandparents because she like fully disowned them, fully decided she did not want to be their mom.
Wow.
So, yeah, let's continue. A day or two later, your dad was ripped from our lives, which, lady, you're rewriting history because we all came back in March and then he got hit by a car in June. So I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. I know he would grieve for what we have gone through and what has become of us. I have continually sought the Lord for wisdom and discernment and prayed for all of our ongoing healing. I hope that you will accept my decision and be happy for me that God has sent another man to love me with all his heart and walk with me through my grief and recovery, which is far from complete.
Oh.
So you needed to marry someone like 20 plus years younger than you, who was probably like 10 years old when I was born,
Yeah.
which you were like in your 30s when I was born. You need to marry a man so drastically younger than you. Move him into your house and disown all of your children to restart your life. All right.
And marry him on
And
the
marry him on your like second husband's funeral. Also, I found out that she was married before my dad. I didn't know that.
She seems to have a pattern.
Yeah, it seems to be a pattern. Yeah. So she said, she continues, my husband has the utmost respect for your father and the family we raised. He isn't a replacement. No one could ever take your dad's place for any of us, but he is totally committed to loving with me and walking the rest of the days God has ordained with me by my side. That kind of sounds a little bit like a threat. Like, are you
Yeah.
gonna die?
Yeah.
Okay. She continues, I hope you will accept this and be kind to both of us. I miss you desperately and love you. And so does he, with everlasting love. Yours always, Mama. What gets me, what really gets me, what irks me, none of us have ever called her Mama.
Wow. That is a
No,
lot.
it is a lot. Now, let me ask you, did any of us respond to it? No.
No, good. Good.
No, none of us responded. Yeah. Like how like now I don't know if I've even fully processed
Yeah,
any
no,
of that. This is
yeah.
just like it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Like, yeah. I don't even know what I would have done either. I definitely wouldn't have responded either, for sure. That is just wow.
And I feel so healed that I can now just like laugh and
Mhm. Yeah.
just like oh so weepy. Oh my goodness. Like cuz I'm reading it how I know. I know she would have done it.
Yeah.
Girl, I'm using that acting degree right now to be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, my husband was ripped out of our lives 2 days after you all came home. Like the amount of delusion, like delusion, Delulu land. She is a part of the Delulu. And I feel like that is all abusers. They're so delusional.
Yes, they are. They really are.
Every single fucking one of them, no matter what type of abuse it is, to be able to subject another human being to mistreatment and think that's okay is fucking delusional.
Mm. Yep.
And just be able to do la-di-da-di-da with your life.
Yeah.
I'm not doing nothing wrong. Like,
And then bring God into it and blame it all on God.
bring God into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She like, oh God. It's like it's all God's plan. No, bitch. I'm
No.
sorry. God did not
Education
plan
person.
this. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You have free will.
Yeah.
You are freely willing to abuse me and
Yeah.
my other siblings, and then go about your little Delulu life and act like, oh, you guys have all left me. Bitch,
We escaped you.
we escaped you, but not just that. She discarded all of us multiple times throughout our childhood. Like the first time she discarded me was when I was 7. I was forced to live with my grandparents for like 6 months. And then the next time was when I was 14 after I tried to commit suicide. And she was like, I don't want anything to do with you because you clearly have demons in you, is what she
Oh,
said to me. I was 14 years old and tried to commit suicide. And she's like, you got demons.
oh my.
Get out of my house. I don't need demons in my house.
Oh my. Yeah, wow.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Pardon? I'm sorry. That's the exact opposite of what
Yeah.
someone who has tried to take their life needs. The
Yeah.
exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so hysterically like, oh my God. What? What? And you said
And that made
you're,
sense to her too. Like,
it doesn't make any sense. Like, make it make sense. I don't, and you said that you're, to me, that your mother was addicted to drugs all your life.
yeah, yeah, she started using when I was 4.
Mm.
Hmm.
And then you had an overdose of some kind and she got you, and then she started using again and she died.
So, actually what happened? So, I escaped my abuser a couple times. That's why I say off and on. Um, the first couple times, he wasn't wasn't as intense about holding me. He would let me go and then he would like track me down. It's almost like he like enjoyed that. I don't really know, but I would get out, and one of the times that I got out, he actually drove me to my mom's house because he wanted me to, I think he was trying to get me to get money or clothes or something. It was something I needed. But he was right there. Like his car was right there, but my mom kept me inside and she wouldn't let me go. And she actually got me uh sent to a rehab facility that the police station actually paid for because I was already, they did like this huge group, the police in my town, they did this huge table. It's called something, I can't remember what it's called, but they bring in victim services and they bring in everybody because I had been in the system before for abuse of another man when I was younger, and they all collectively agreed that they needed to send me to rehab. So I went to this facility the day before my 16th birthday, and I did not last in there because I realized very quickly that I can sign myself out when I turn 16. I don't actually have to stay there because it wasn't court ordered. It was just like requested. So I think it was only a couple days that I lasted in there because I was not ready to get clean. And I was 4 hours away from where I live. And I just left. I signed myself out. I was like, bye. I mean, I need to go get high. So I left and I went on a very intense bender for 3 weeks. I ended up in the hospital and overdosing 3 times. The third time I contacted my mom and I was crying and I was freaking out and I was telling her, I was like, this is it. Like I'm dying. I need to get out of this town. I don't know what to do because I was sleeping on the streets. I was getting creepy men to take me in so I could sleep on a floor. I was in a really, it was one of the most terrifying 3 weeks of my life. And I pretty much guilt tripped her. I told her that if she didn't come pick me up, that I was gonna die, that this was my life, and I had no way to come home. And my mom, she suffered with severe arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis. It's a type of arthritis. It's like in her whole body, all of her muscles were like fusing together. So she was in a lot of pain. So driving 4 hours somewhere and 4 hours back, it's a lot of driving for her, and that's very painful for her. Um, and I just was so selfish and so stuck and so in my own addiction that I didn't even realize what I was doing to her. So she at the time, well, from what I know, from what she was telling everybody, she was 3 years clean, which was amazing. And it was really horrible that she got clean right when I started using. Um, so we never got to enjoy that like sobriety together. So she came and she picked me up and she brought me home, and I was very, very strung out. And it took me a really long time to fall asleep. But once I did, I didn't wake up until mid-afternoon because my body was withdrawing like crazy. And when I woke up the next morning, my mom, she was dead in the next room beside me. I found her. Um, and from what we know, that was her first relapse in 3 years. And it absolutely destroys me. My mom and I, we had a really weird relationship. It wasn't healthy by any means, but the love we had for each other was unreal. Um, and we had this like really interesting connection. Like we just, for some reason, we were always just connected in so many ways. Um, and it's still, I think, something I'm working through, because I feel like a lot of that was my fault. I couldn't even imagine now that I'm a mom. I could not imagine seeing my daughter the way that my mom saw me, and what she had to go through, and just experiencing. I had been for the previous year in this man's basement, gone a no contact for so long, and she finally got me for a little second. Um, and then I did that, and I just disappeared again, and then she just couldn't take it anymore. I don't know if it was probably just like accumulation of the pain from the drive, and seeing me like that and everything. It just, she couldn't do it anymore. Um, and right after that, her funeral was 3 days later, and I was right back in the care of him again. And then after that, he didn't let me go.
Mm.
For the first year, I had escaped a couple times, but that was it. for him. That was the longest I had been away from him, and he wasn't letting me go again. So I had to process seeing my mom dead and all of that in his basement. And that was, I don't know how my body just didn't give up throughout all of that. So I just let it all happen to me for a really long time after that, because I didn't have the motivation to do anything for myself anymore. I felt very guilty. I felt disgusting, and I let him get me as high and everything that he wanted, because I just couldn't live with myself.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And you are never responsible for someone else using something. That's not your responsibility. And I do want to commend you for the amount of empathy and compassion that you have for your mother. I know that takes so much processing. I know that takes so much therapy, but I really would like to commend you for that.
Thank you.
It's very hard. It's
Mhm.
very hard to lose a parent. I understand that. I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very hard to see your parent dead, because I did see my dad dead. It does something to you. It does something to you. It's just, honestly, it is like earth shattering of seeing someone that loved you and took care of you, and the reason you exist is partly because of them, just no longer here. It's very intense. I would not wish it upon anyone. But I
No.
do want to say that from my perspective, you didn't cause your mother's death.
Mm.
It is a string of unfortunate circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do tell myself that. And I do, as an addict, know that nobody can force you to do it. And nobody can force that needle into your arm. I do, I do know that. And I am working through it all. I think I had almost fully accepted that it wasn't my fault until I had my daughter. And then I was like, wow, like that would really take something out of you to watch your own child do something like that. I didn't understand the love that you have for a child until now. And even though my daughter is only 2.5, and I couldn't even imagine what she'd be like as a teenager, I can still feel that. I can still put myself now fully into her shoes. And I just like, I couldn't imagine. But I do know that she had her own shit. She was diagnosed bipolar. She had put us through absolute hell and back as a child. We were taken out of her care at one point because she was stealing her drugs from her work because she was a nurse, and she got caught and she tried to kill herself. And she was in a coma for almost a week, and we had to see all of that when we were kids, and she was just very verbally abusive. So like I have to also recognize that she had her own problems, and that I can't take the weight of all of that. And that was something that I really had to work through as a kid while she was still alive. The number one thing that my therapist, because I've been in therapy since I was 11, and my therapist was always telling me that you are not responsible for your mom. That was like the main thing that I had to do, like that I had to get that into my head, because I was always raising her, because her drug of choice was heroin, which had her sleeping all the time. She would like, but she was also bipolar, so she went through like this, like she'd go for like a month or two where she would just sleep all the time and be high all the time. She wouldn't cook for us, she wouldn't clean for us, she wouldn't do the laundry, she wouldn't get us on this bus and all that stuff. And then she'd like flip, and she'd be like, let's do all of this stuff today. We're gonna clean the whole house and it's gonna be perfect. And it was like, really, it had to be perfect. And then she was gonna cook us all these meals, and she was gonna do all these activities, and she made all these false promises for everything. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, she's high again on the couch, passed out. So I had to learn how to take care of her, make sure she was breathing, make sure she was alive, make sure she was eating. Um, And for myself and for my little brother, I had to do all of that for all three of us. So I felt very responsible, always have, very responsible for my mom and for her actions and what she did. And I felt like her happiness was mine, my responsibility. Like she couldn't be happy unless I made sure that she was happy. So I think, well, I know that having that sort of connection towards her death as well, it really fucked me up. After just somewhat healing my mommy issues while she was alive. And then having to deal with that, it set me back really far. And I'm still working through that.
Of course. Of course. And I can relate, my mother also has diagnosed bipolar disorder. I can relate. Oldest of three, I had two younger brothers. And yeah, feeling responsible for your mom. My mother would go through these phases of mania and depression, and the mania was always around our birthdays. She would always make it a point that birthdays are so fucking special. They
Us
had to be
too.
so special. It was performative,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
performative art. Like she would go all out, spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of my dad's money, because my dad owned three companies. My dad was a workaholic. She spent tens of thousands of my father's money to plan these elaborate birthday parties that none of us asked for.
Yeah.
Like, none of us ever asked for it. She would invite all these kids that we did not know from the neighborhood, from our church. She would spend so much money on catering. She would go through these painstaking, like, she would bake these extravagant cakes, cookies, stuff, and she would make it our fault. She's like, look at what I'm doing for you for your birthday. Like, I'm going through all this trouble for your birthday. None of us ever asked for any of it. None of us ever told her the themes. She would go all out for themes too, for the themes of birthdays. Like all of my birthdays up until I think I was 13 were all Disney princess themed. Every single Disney princess. I had that birthday party. I had costume changes. No, I'm telling you, it was performative
Wow.
art.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
it was intense. Like one of my birthdays was Grace's releasing an album birthday party. So everyone had to dress up as their favorite musician, and I was dressed as Hannah Montana. And we had like a karaoke machine that was thousands of dollars that she bought for that party. Like I was dressed up, I had to do costume changes, and then she made a CD of me like doing covers of all of these songs, and that was like part of the goodie bags for
Oh my.
everyone.
Wow.
Yeah, they were intense.
Yeah.
And that's not even like all of it, but
Yeah.
I'll digress because it was
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
But after the birthdays, because it was in uh one of my siblings and I have a very close birthday. So she would also make joint birthday parties, which she's like, "Oh, I only did that one time." No, ma'am. You did that multiple times.
Yeah.
You're only remembering one time, but
Yeah.
you did that multiple times.
Yeah.
Like one of me and my siblings are only 2 weeks apart. So, but we're like, our birthdays are 2 weeks apart, but I'm older,
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
several years. But she would have joint birthday parties and there would be like, it was crazy. But after the birthdays, she wouldn't clean any of
Mhm.
it. So there has been a huge party of hundreds of people in our backyard, which we had 4 acres, hundreds of people in our backyard. There's like cups, there's trash everywhere. And she made it her children's responsibility to clean up, which we were little. Like, I remember the first time it happening that I like remember, that I can actively remember, was my youngest brother's birthday. And it was a Cars birthday. And so it was themed after the movie Cars, like Lightning McQueen,
Yeah.
Tow Mater. There were plastic cars that had been cracked all over our backyard. And she would scream at us that we were forced to pick up every little piece. And if she saw any piece that we would get beat, we would get spanked. And I remember like with my little hands, like feeling through the grass, going like this, trying to find the little pieces. I remember thinking to myself, this is dumb. Like, this is dumb. I was a little kid. I had to clean. And from that point on, I was probably about 7. From that point on, something clicked in her brain of, oh, my daughter can do all of this for me. So I started being responsible for all of the cooking, all of the cleaning, all of the laundry for my entire family from that age, including like making sure everyone was fed, like all of it, all of it. And I know you understand but for those of you listening, like all of it. My mother did not do any chores at all, period. Like
Nope.
her cooking, she would make it as if it was like, oh, this big, oh, well, I'm such a loving mother. Look at this hard work I did for you. Did she clean a dish? No. No. Before I could like clean, because I was little, before I could reach up and clean dishes like actively, like dishes would mold. There would be like fuzzy mold over all the dishes, or there would be like fuzzy mold in our fridge. Like my siblings and I were sent away to camp quite often. And when we would come back, she hadn't done a single chore. The house was filthy, filthy. And we hadn't been there. And I had cleaned as a child to the best of my ability before. My mother was a hoarder. My dad had to buy her a giant barn that could fit at least 6 horses, a giant barn. And it is filled to the top of the barn. Like he made a loft to the top of the barn of just stuff. Just stuff. And during COVID, he bought her a shipping container, like the ones that are on the backs of semis. That's in our backyard. It is full of just stuff.
Wow. Wow.
The hoarding was so intense. As a child, I couldn't stay on top of it. I couldn't stay on top of it. I was constantly cleaning. She was constantly just by buying stuff. Like, I feel like it was her addiction was to just buy random things. Like during COVID, it was even more intense because, we're all home. We can all see it. I wasn't really allowed in the house except to clean it. Legitimately, I was not allowed in the house except to clean it. And I would have to give them notice that I was coming to clean inside the house so that everyone could go to their rooms. Was I going out in public or going to stores? No. I don't know. It was just ridiculous. But one time, like, she bought this giant greenhouse, like an actual structure that you had to build. Like, she was like, I'm going to make it into my pottery studio.
Oh.
Yeah. And she, like, paid a lot of money to get plumbing to that place. I don't know if she ever used it. I don't know. And then she bought a giant, like, hamster bubble to
Oh.
put in the backyard. A hamster bubble that you can physically get into. She bought the XL one so you could get into. And my dad was like, absolutely not. We live on a pecan farm. Pecans are self-pruning trees. That bubble is going to get popped within a second. You have to take that back. It was $5,000. He's like, you have to take that back.
Oh
She was
my.
like, no, but I want it. It'll be so fun. She bought multiple ones. It'll be so fun. We can bounce into each other. And since it's a
Wow.
bubble, it's COVID, we're not going to get each other sick.
Oh my God.
This is real. I can't make this shit up. This is real. This really
Wow.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And abuse affects people in so many different ways. And until we acknowledge how it's affecting us, we stop denying that the abuse took place. That is when we can actually start to heal. And that is when we can actually see the comedy in some of it. Because I feel like a lot of your commenters, I don't think they have true insight upon their own experiences. If they did, they wouldn't be making light of yours.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even then, comedy is a coping mechanism. And for me, it's a really big one. But I'm not denying what happened. I'm like, bro, this is fucking insane.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
And that's
crazy.
That's exactly it. Like I have multiple videos where like I'm very much making light of my situation and making jokes and using TikTok sounds that are hilarious to help me deal with my trauma. And like I am all for the comments who are like laughing with me, but like at the same time being like, holy shit, dude, like that is real. Like I am all for that. Like I love it. It's more like it's like the sickening, gross jokes, right? Where I'm like, you are really not grasping that this is not like comedy. This is disgusting. And like that's where I'm just like, wow. Like there's two different ways to joke about trauma, and one of them is okay, and that one is definitely not okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a comment one time of someone saying that I was a professional victim.
Oh, wow.
I was like, you think I make money?
Yeah, right? You think we're getting paid?
You think I'm getting paid? I must be doing so well for you to think, oh my God, one of the dogs is wanting to come in. Come on in, babies. I must be doing so well in your mind. My project must be so
Yeah,
phenomenally professional for you
yeah,
to think that I'm making money from this.
yeah.
That's such a slay. Thanks. But
Thanks
no,
for the compliment.
I'm taking it as such. I know they didn't mean it as such, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow. Like, I wish, bro,
Yeah,
if I could monetize my trauma, I would be a billionaire. Because
yeah. Right? Yeah.
it's intense. But
Yeah.
no, I am not making money yet. Hopefully one day this podcast does make money,
Yes.
hopefully it's self-sustaining. But for now, no.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you are wrong.
Yeah.
I am a professional in the fact that, yeah, this is my profession, but does it make money? No.
No. Yeah.
Maybe one day, but clearly that just seems to me as like, oh, you think I'm so good at this,
Yeah.
that you're mad that I'm so good at this, that
Yeah.
you are threatened.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. I was like, what? I'm not getting anything out of this. Like, I'm in Canada, so we do not like, well, at least I don't have the creator fund. Um, and like I am not getting paid for this. I am just purely spreading awareness and being an advocate. And that is it. I do not see a cent in my bank account from my profile or anything. Like,
Yeah, and that's okay. That's enough to just be able to spread awareness, to be able to have like this conversation. And that's why I like my platform so much, because I'm like having a conversation with these
yeah,
people like yourself that have been so greatly impacted and have started to heal from this, so that I can provide resources for other people that may relate to you or relate to me and be like, oh my gosh,
that's what
light
that is.
bulb moment.
Yeah.
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 Bro, we're
Because like
doing
I've had so much of that too. Like on TikTok, I'll be scrolling and I'll see this video and I'll be like, wait a second, like I actually this is like I get it, and then it'll help me like process my shit, and then like wow, like I so many other creators help me process through my stuff, which helps me talk about it, and then I'm like connecting all of the little dots in my head, and then it helps me talk about it, and then I'm hoping other people are doing the same thing, and like we can just all like collectively help bring
exactly.
awareness, heal each other.
That's the dream. We're
Mm.
living
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Now.
Now we
Yeah.
are. Yeah, we've gotten out of the craziness, and no one knows what life has in store in the future, but I am actually very hopeful. I
Yeah.
am, for the first time in my life, I am genuinely excited for the future.
Mhm.
Like genuinely like, dude, I could do so much, because I have 2 degrees. I got my associates out of high school, and I got my bachelor's in the midst of all the chaos that I went through. And
Amazing.
I'm like, wow, now I can use it.
Yeah.
Oh, the mochi. Come here, mochi. Come here, Bebes. She wants to say hello. I'm taking the camera. The mochi, the baby.
Oh, hi. Oh, is it a girl or a boy?
She's a girl. She a
She
royal
is
girl.
absolutely adorable. Is she a puppy?
Yes, she's 4 months old. She looks
She's
like
so
Muffin
pretty.
from Bluey.
Yes, she does. She's so beautiful.
Why don't you
Wow.
look up, say hello to the people?
Hi.
Oh, yes.
Oh, she is
She
adorable.
Teven. She Teven. But yeah,
Oh.
vibes. Um, dude, I I'm moving soon. I'm so excited to have like an official setup
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than, the guest bedroom.
yeah. I mean, it looks great.
Thank you. I worked very hard on it. I'm kind of proud. I painted these.
Yeah, I was looking
Painted
at them. I
that.
also love your light. Like, it's so awesome, all of it.
My first ever business purchase.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I'm so
Oh, I
like
bet.
I'm so proud of myself. And I know a lot of people will hear that and be like, "Oh, she's so full of herself." No. I am proud. It's like
Good, you should be.
I'm transmuting the pain into purpose.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
I'm doing. What do you think of that saying? Transmuting pain into purpose.
I think that that is exactly what I'm doing. Exactly what everybody can do and has the ability to do. You don't have to let your trauma define you and put you in this tiny little box. You can take it and use it and thrive, actually, which I didn't even think was possible. And after I got out of the like the poor me victim mindset, which I was in for a really long time, which is totally, totally valid and totally okay. And I think that everybody should experience that. Like accept, I guess, like that it's really shitty and like, but once you get out of that, like, I guess it's not poor me, it's more like blaming everybody else and not letting yourself get anywhere with it, where you're just sitting there and you're saying like, well, I can never amount to anything because I'm traumatized. I will never get anywhere because of my mental health. I I can't do anything because of this, this, and this. And once you realize that you don't have to put yourself in that box just because the world has made it feel like that, or even your body and your brain can make you feel like that, doesn't mean that you have to live that. You can take all of that and you can excel. And it's like it's hard. It is so hard and it's so amazing to see people when they do it. It's awesome.
Yeah. The
Mhm.
saying of the podcast is trauma is not who you
Yeah.
are, it's what you go through. And when you finally recognize that I am not the trauma, trauma
Yeah.
is outside of me, and you start to get outside of that perspective and gain new perspective, it's revolutionizing. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so good. It is so good. And I don't know. I now have a purpose to share what I've gone through and to talk to other people about what they've gone through. And it, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. My whole life, all I wanted to do was be a filmmaker. And, I still want to do it. I got into a couple film schools in Scotland. I still want to go to film school. But now I've had so many people like, you got into film school in Scotland. Why are you not in Scotland right now? I'm like, well, I've found something that brings me joy. I can still, have the aspect of film
Yeah.
and audio engineering and editing and all that jazz, like designing all of the little promos and stuff like that. I still have that, but I think this is helping a lot of people. And I think it has the potential to help so many more people than me just sitting in a film class for a while, which I will do eventually. But
Yeah.
it's just like everything in its own time. And I have that perspective now of just being so excited. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so healing. It is so healing.
You actually have something that you're like that fuels you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So going off of that, like how has your routine changed now from your experiences? How do you go about life?
I had to drastically change the way that I spoke to myself. That was like a really huge one. I was very stuck in viewing myself the way that all like my multiple abusers had viewed me and made me view myself. I had to realize that I wasn't this useless, helpless, naive little girl, that they made me feel like I was. And it took so long. I'm still getting myself out of that mindset. Like I can be powerful. I am powerful. I'm not, I don't need other people to take care of me. I can take care of myself. But also letting people take care of me, because that is a hard one for me. I struggle with that a lot. Sometimes I get a little too independent, and my boyfriend's like, "Hey, I'm still here," and like I learning to let people in at a healthy way and a healthy rate without either letting them fully take care of me and resorting back to how it felt when I was in his basement, or and then also not going full independent mode, don't let anybody help me kind of thing. So I had to learn a really healthy balance between that. Another thing that I started doing was like affirmations. Every single day I look in the mirror and I repeat that I am strong, I'm powerful, I'm beautiful. And many other ones that actually I thought was just like hocus pocus for a really long time there, but wow, like it is powerful. It really alters the way that you view everything. Um, I still struggle with really bad flashbacks. But I've learned that I can feel them now, and that I'm supposed to feel them, and I can be in a safe place while I feel them and I process them, because before I was just letting them re-traumatize me. Every time I had a flashback, I would feel all of the feelings that I felt while I was actually experiencing it. But my therapist helped me recognize that I can feel it, and I can accept that that happened to me, and I can actually like connect my emotions to my body again and my soul, and like I can feel it like in a healthy way, and I'm safe, and I can remind myself. So when I go through my flashbacks, one thing I repeat the whole time it's happening is I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm okay. I'm not there anymore, and I'll touch myself, I'll rub my arms, or like go like this, and I like grounding myself, reminding myself that I am here now. I'm not there anymore. And that was like really powerful. It took my flashbacks to like a whole nother place, and now it's like I am actually healing myself through them, because I am disconnecting um the trauma from my body, like in a way, which is just it's really awesome.
I mean, yeah, it sounds almost a little bit like EMDR.
Mhm.
It it really, I'm proud of you, dude. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I genuinely am. Like, oh my God, you're doing it. Hey, Mochi, you gotta calm down, little dude. I understand it's hard to be a baby, but you gotta chill. Mochi, don't bite the cords. Don't even think about it.
Oh, she's
Redirect, play with the toy. Like, let's not let those intrusive thoughts win, okay, bro? Oh my God. How are you feeling right now?
Great. I feel great. I am very happy to be on this with you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy too. I'm so happy to have you here. How can I support you? Like going forward, how can I help?
Just this bringing awareness. This is all I ever wanted. Having you reach out was like, I was so excited to be on this. And like I looked at your profile and I realized that you are doing like exactly what I want to do, like in a different form. Like you are just bringing awareness. Which is exactly what I'm wanting to do, what I'm doing. Like my whole point of all of my social media is to just advocate and take the like destigmatize and like all of that, like just, and that's exactly what you're doing. And I thought it was just so cool that you wanted to like do it together. um so yeah, this is awesome. This is supporting me more than you know.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. I'm really so glad. Oh, that's so good. That's so
Yeah,
good.
this is awesome. This is so cool, and I really hope that you blow up. Like this is amazing.
I hope we can reach more people and more people can become trauma informed because
Yes.
I really do think this could help a lot of people. That's all I want. Mochi, are you chewing on your dad's plumbing supplies? But Joey is he's my fiance, he's a plumber, and he has like a bunch of tools in our apartment because he doesn't have his truck yet. He gets his truck later on this year,
Nice.
which all of the tools will then be moved into the
Yay!
truck.
'Cause I
But
know how that is. My boyfriend's a carpenter and his tools are everywhere. All of his
oh,
stuff everywhere.
it's insane. And
Yeah,
I'm like, babe, I have OCD from how I
yeah,
was raised. Can
me
these
too.
can these things have a home? And he's like, they'll have a home when I have a truck. I'm like,
Yeah, that's my words exactly. Everything needs a place. Everything needs a little home, and this is not it.
exactly. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, Gigi, speak to the choir. Oh, you got eye boogies. No worries. Hold on. Come here. Give me your face. Eye boogie removal. Do you ever just see your pets and like they got the worst eye boogies
Oh
and you're like,
my gosh,
where did
yeah.
those come from?
My dog is a Great Pyrenees, and he's just all white, and his eye boogies are atrocious. Every morning we have a routine. He comes up to me and gives me kisses, and I wipe his eye boogies out every single morning.
Look at this. Look at this
Oh,
bebes.
yes, so you totally get it. The white dog with the eye boogies.
Yeah. Why'd you got the eye boogies,
Cute.
Gigi?
Hi.
Gigi got the eye boogers.
Aw.
She out here. She's like, so the
She's
desk is right here. She's on the bed. She's reaching.
she's
She's
ready.
reaching. She's like, Mommy, thank you for taking away my eye boogers.
Aw.
Appreciate it. She
She's
never had like really bad ones until we got the puppy. And
oh
I was like, Vet, what's going on? She's like,
yeah,
well, either the puppy is like clawing at the dog's face, which yes, she is,
yeah.
or the dog may be allergic to other dogs. I'm like, that's a
Oh,
thing?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
She's like, yeah, that's a thing. Like, because
Oh,
Gigi only grew up with cats. Everyone leave. Go.
oh,
Go.
fair.
Go, Gigi. Outside. Go outside that way. Go. Ah,
Oh
chaos. Things are
no.
falling down. See, that's why I wanted them to leave because they were starting to play. Oh my God. It's okay. Chill.
The life of owning pets.
It's okay. Everything is okay. All right, hold up. There we go. Oh,
We got it.
I'll fix it eventually. But yeah, yeah, the life of owning pets. Everything is
Yeah.
chaos. This is
Yes.
also why I was like, I want to have a permanent
Yes.
wall
Yeah.
because right now everything's hanging on a prayer and thumbtacks.
Yeah.
So
Well, it looks great.
we live in an apartment complex. We can't have nails. We gotta
Yeah.
have thumbtacks.
Yeah. That's how my place is. Yeah. Yeah.
JJ, it's okay. Just give me a minute. Oh my God. Shush.
Oh,
Talking
she's
back. Oh my gosh. Speaking directly to our listeners, what would be your message about healing from Stockholm Syndrome?
that it's not um it doesn't go in order. It doesn't go the way that you think it's going to. It's a lot of back and forth. It's thinking you're healed and then curling up in a ball and crying and wishing that you were back there. And it's a lot. It's the thing that you have to really remind yourself is that when you are feeling it and you are crying and you are almost wishing that you could go back, that is part of the process. That is part of the healing, and you're not a horrible person. You're not disgusting, which is how you feel. You feel gross and you feel like a liar. And that's not at all it. And eventually you get that and you understand that. But just that is part of the process. That's all I can really say is that you have to let yourself go at your own pace, and that you have to remind yourself that you aren't there anymore and that you're safe and that you deserve so much better than to be back where you were. And to just let your body and your mind heal the way that it's supposed to. And you are going to regress, and that is just part of the process.
Yeah. Processing any type of trauma, there's that form of like, whoop, there's that form of regression
Yeah.
of being like, it's almost like your body is so used to that pain and torment that it yearns for it almost because that's what felt normal.
Yes, it's just like withdrawing from drugs.
Mm-hmm. But through that process is healing, is hope. And, as Stockholm Syndrome isn't an officially recognized psychological condition yet, there's no standard treatment. But, however, like treatment for PTSD, treatment for Stockholm Syndrome usually involves psychiatric or psychological counseling, which is also called talk therapy, and or medication. If you or a loved one has Stockholm Syndrome, you'll learn healthy ways to cope with your trauma through therapy. Therapy may help you understand your experience, understand how sympathetic behavior towards your captors is a survival skill, and learn how you can move forward with your life. And for those of you listening, in the description, we have a link for 2 free weeks of BetterHelp because I use BetterHelp personally. I'm not sponsored. Don't come for me. I'm not sponsored. I use BetterHelp, so they give me like a link if you want to like recommend it to a friend. And then they're like, oh, they get a free week. And then there's also an option of giving them your free week.
Oh,
That's what I do. So you get a free week and then my free week of therapy if you use the link. I don't get any money.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to be nice. Okay.
Not a professional victim.
Not a professional victim, okay?
Yeah. Yet.
Yet. But yeah, it's a resource. It's a free resource. I'll also put in the description some other free resources if you guys need anything. Also, we have the Discord.
Yes, yeah.
It's free. You can join, chat with other people, have some vibes, chill, share some memes. It's actually really fun. I really like the memes over there. They're like, peak. But yeah, thank you, Abby. Thank you so much for sharing with us, sharing your experience. I mean, I would love to stay in touch if that's what you would like to do.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that.
Awesome. Okay. Friend success.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you so much. This was amazing.
If you're watching us over on YouTube, here are our memes of the week, carefully curated from the members in our Discord server. Now let's get into those memes. At the end of every episode, we spin our wheel of emotions to learn a new feeling and how it correlates to trauma. Here's our wheel. You see it? Now let's zoom on in. Oop, that's out. Oop. There we go. Okay, let's spin. Ooh. Ah. Something other than green. Okay. Distant. Withdraw. Suspicious. So we spun our wheel. We got something within the anger category. It is distant. And within the distant category is withdraw and feeling suspicious. So our wheel of emotions. It is a tool that many therapists use to help their clients understand their trauma and cope with these feelings and understand how they're feeling and provide solutions for them to move forward with the feelings or even reframe their thought processes. So within distant, feeling withdrawn, feeling suspicious. We got to remember that feelings are tools. They are tools that we use to navigate the world effectively. Humans have developed complex emotions to connect with one another and to understand one another in a more complex way than, say, animals, which animals do have emotions. I know this for a fact. I have 2 dogs and 2 cats. I know they have emotions, and I know they have pretty complex relationships with one another. But within being a human and feeling distant, you can feel distant for a number of reasons. You can feel withdrawn for a number of reasons, but when it comes to trauma, and specifically to Stockholm Syndrome, feeling distant from those that love you is incredibly hard to deal with, especially when you are physically distant from them and you feel like you can't escape your abuse. You know, I have a Stockholm Syndrome of my own, as we've discussed in this episode, of what I went through with my mother, which, I didn't delve into all of it, but she really did abuse me. And specifically when COVID happened, I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling of distance from our friends and those close to us. And because of that physical distance and the inability to connect and share with one another and enjoy each other's company, you also get that feeling of, well, why would they want to see me or hang out with me? I'm nothing. And you get these intrusive thoughts that then become your reality, and it's really hard. It's really hard. I try every day to process what I've gone through. And that is a challenge, but it is a challenge worth undertaking, because over time I am healing. Over time I am becoming a lot stronger. And over time I am becoming a lot more empathetic to others and doing my best to understand others and connect with others on a deeper level, because that's what we need as humans, is to connect with others. And when you feel distant, it's virtually impossible to connect with another person. So from my perspective, to feel connected with another person is to share what you're going through in a healthy and safe and mutual way. And a way that you can start that is through the Discord server, where you can anonymously share your burdens, talk with others, and get support for your trauma. It's really helpful. Peer support is essential. And this way, you can do it without any fear of being doxxed and without any fear of being judged. Because that's what we're all here on the Discord for, to connect with each other. And special thanks goes out to all of our Discord users. Thank you guys for being on the Discord. Thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for liking it. I really appreciate it. If you want to support our podcast, we have a Patreon. Different tiers can get you a bracelet. That is a handmade bracelet made by me, Grace, or we can get you a sticker. The link is in our description. We also have merch on Bonfire, where you can get custom apparel designed by yours truly. Those links are also in the description. Any support helps us out a lot. So if you feel compelled to, please like and subscribe and share. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show. Any support helps us out a lot. So thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, you are capable of a fulfilling life in spite of your circumstances and your trauma. May you rise again from the ashes and be filled with peace, hope, love, joy, and understanding. I'll see you guys in the next episode. I love you guys so much. All right. Bye.